set, go.
What's going on, everybody? You're now tuned to the one and only podcast with DeSean Jackson. Fade the booth.
I got the money, but my pride keep me in the streets. I got the hustle, but we guarantee we gon'
Hey, you won 5 Grammys, 11 BET Awards.
Too hard, you gotta get up off me.
Man, if I get a chance to play with them, it's over.
So I felt like, no, I will not lose. I cannot lose.
A lot, much respect, no disrespect.
Name ring bells. All across the world, yeah, my name ring bells.
What's going on? It's your main man, DeSean Jackson, and you're now tuned in to Fade the Booth with the one and only legendary. I'm amazed and I'm honored to have her. We ain't gonna call it the ring, but she's in the booth. Laila Ali, how you doing today?
I'm good. What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh man, I'm great, man. I want to first off apologize for my technical difficulties. I'm trying to get everything, handled out, but appreciate your time and your patience. But I'm blessed. How about yourself?
Well, it's all good. I have the same technical difficulties from time to time. We all are experiencing it right now, having to be online, right? So I think you're doing an amazing job so far. I'm blessed as well. There's nothing to complain about. I mean, I think we all are in the same boat right now. We're all in this together, and I'm just happy to have my family, my health, my mental health as well, because a lot of people don't right now. They're suffering. So, what can we say?
No, it's a blessing. Before we get into any questions or anything, I want to take the time to just hit your intro. I mean, your intro kind of hefty in my eyes. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. I'm a fan. I do a little bit of challenging later, but first off, man, I can't even say every category that you done held, belts or titles in, whatever y'all call it in that field. But I mean, you have every belt. You held every belt, and you still to this day have every belt. You went 24-0 with 21 KOs. That mean like she knocked them out like cold. Ducked and uppercut and all that. But man, honestly, that's an amazing stat line. Not to mention you're the daughter of Muhammed Ali, one of my favorite all-time boxers that's ever, touched this planet Earth. Honestly, talk to me a little bit about that. What was that like, obviously, being Muhammad Ali's daughter? And was it pressure growing up early stages in your career and just being a kid, like, what was that like? I'm curious to know what was that like for you.
I don't know any other life than being his daughter. And of course, it was amazing because to have my father, who is not only a global icon, amazing athlete, but just who he was as a man, as a father, as an example in my own household every morning. Obviously, that's hard to explain. But of course, it did come with entourage and people over all the time. Our house wasn't really a private home like you would imagine. It was kind of like a public place. There was always people there. My dad was traveling all the time because he was out saving the world, right? On top of everything else that he was doing. But I would say, like I said, just having him as an example, because I learned a lot by watching him rather than, what they say, do as I say, not as I do, right?
Sure.
But a lot of times with kids, we're always watching. And he really helped shape the way I view people, the way I view the world, in terms of just people having character and morals and their values and who they are as a person. Because my dad really lived that life. Everything you read about his greatness, that's who he really was. And it's your daily, habits that really make you the person that you are, right? So I got to witness all of that.
Definitely. So you got to witness firsthand the hard work, the temptation. I mean, obviously, like you said, everyone around him, the entourage, I wasn't as big, or I don't, put myself on his level, because that's a hefty level. But, I'm up there, so I could kind of understand as far as, the daily routine, as far as having people around you, and, you kind of having to be the person to make sure everything done. This bill taken care of, this money being here, this there. So I get that part of it. For you, being a young lady and a female, and obviously your dad being a boxing legend, did you feel any pressure to say I should, I'm a young lady and I'm a female, but I have to follow, what my dad pursued as a male boxer? How was that for you as a female? And tell me, like, did you? Because I saw something where you said you didn't get into boxing until you became 18. So growing up, like, was you shying away from that, or was you kind of rough growing up? Like, you wanted to get in the ring? Like, how was that for you?
So let me just create this context for you here. I'm the youngest of all of his children. My dad has 9.
Nine, for sure.
I'm the youngest girl. I have a brother who's adopted. He's younger than me. But I'm the youngest, and I'm the only boxer in the family. I am the only fighter in the family. I used to get in trouble in school. I actually went to juvenile hall at one point. And I'm not talking about no overnight stay, 3 months.
Wow.
And that's a whole nother story. I actually wrote about it in my book, Finding Reach, Spirit, and Personal Power, because I always had this fighter in me, because I did grow up in a dysfunctional environment when my parents divorced. So I became this fighter. And I saw women's boxing on television for the first time when I was about 17 years old. I never had the idea to fight. I never had the idea to fight professionally. I wasn't like, I want to be like my dad. There was no pressure there because women didn't box, as far as I knew. It wasn't a popular sport. No one was expecting me, especially someone's like, oh, you're so pretty, you should do X, Y, and Z. They're not going to expect you or pressure you to become a boxer. So for me, I was at a friend's house, turned on the TV to watch a Mike Tyson fight. And on the undercard, these women come into the ring. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? What is going on? Like, I didn't even know it was a sport. Yeah. So when they got in the ring and they started brawling, I'm talking, it was a bloody fight. And I was like, I want to do that. Right. And my friends were like, girl, you crazy? They'll take your head off, all that kind of stuff. But I went home that night dreaming about becoming a professional boxer. And at the time, mind you, because I've always been very ambitious, I had my own nail salon, had my own business because I went to school for nails and had all that. So I had this plan in place. So for a year, I pondered it. Like, should I do this? What's my dad going to think? What is everyone going to say? What kind of exposure this is going to be? Because I knew Muhammed Ali's daughter, that's a big story, following in his footsteps. Women's boxing wasn't even where it is now, and it still has a long way to go. Right. But decided to do it. Let me fast forward the story. Trained for a year in secrecy because I knew I need to make sure I can really do this and I'm going to be good at it. I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to embarrass my father. There's a lot of pressure is going to come with this, So then my dad came in town and was like, I hear you're boxing, like 5 months into it. And he basically tried to talk me out of it. He was like, it's what are you going to do if you get knocked down? And everybody's watching you. Muhammad Ali's daughter get knocked down. I was like, Dad, I thought about that. I'm going to get back up just like you did. Right. Well, what if this? What if that? And finally got really frustrated and was like, it's too hard. It's not a woman's, it's not a woman's sport. It's a man's sport. Don't do it. And I was like, I'm sorry, Dad, I'm going to do it. And I felt like he just didn't know any better. He just, was afraid. And he apologized later, told me he was wrong and all that after I won some titles and all that. But to answer your question, I know that was a very long-winded answer, but there was never any pressure except for the pressure that I put on myself to go into the sport. But of course, as an athlete, you have the opportunity to work on your craft when nobody's watching, right? You had nothing to lose. You're learning, nobody's watching, then you became great, right? Sure. I had eyes on me since day one I stepped in that gym. Right? Everybody came to fight me 10 times harder than they fought everybody else because they thought this was their moment to get their payday. So I could watch a girl on tape and she's fighting somebody and then it's a whole nother fighter when she gets in the ring with me. Like, dang, because that inspiration.
Where'd that come from?
The inspiration. But I was already ready for it. But I'm just saying, you would see what if I was to show you, you'd say, wow. So there always had been a target on my back, but that's what really made me work as hard as I did, and work with amazing trainers that I worked with over the years.
Right. That definitely shows your mental. I kind of, try to pick out something that, every guest comes on and, what makes them great, what triggers them to being who they are. Because I feel like, with me, my motto is hard work, dedication. And, you get knocked down, like you said, get up, get your ass up and keep fighting. And, those who've made it at a high level, they all have like a niche about them. So, for me, that's kind of what I take out of it. I just kind of want to touch on briefly because I heard you, you said your dad said this is not a woman's sport. For you being a woman, and it's always double standards. what's your take on that? Because obviously they say, oh, this is not a women's sport. You're not supposed to be boxing. You're pretty. You know, your face not supposed to be touched. You're not supposed to bleed. You're not supposed to get cuts and scratches. But for you as a mentor, like, was that something that you wanted to prove that, you know, I am a woman, but, you know, it's not a double standard for me. I could do, you know, I can play this sport and I can, you know, or I can box at a high level. Did that ever come up in your mental kind of growing up, or even throughout the training process and, you know, going to camp and, you know, just like at an early age? Because how old were you when you officially started boxing? How old were you? Was you a teenager?
I was about 18, getting ready to turn 19 by the time I started actually training. And then I was, 22 when I had my 21. No, 20. Okay, 20 when I had my pro debut. So I only trained for a year before I had my pro debut. So I was still so young.
Right. So, okay. So you was a little older because, I mean, at 18, 20, I mean, you finished in high school. Really, and another stuff, I saw you graduated from Santa Monica City College. My older brother actually went there as well, too. Oh, yeah? So, yeah. But for me, like, did that ever come a point of time where you was like, you know, this is not a women's sport, but, you know, I want to prove that I can do it. And as far as, you know, you're not getting touched and, you know, you just kind of want to always have that pretty face. Like, what was your mentality on that part of it?
Well, to answer your question, I remember being asked that. That was the main thing people asked me about looks, right? Yeah. Well, you're so pretty. Why would you want to box? You know, or are you using this as a platform to become a model? I'm like, first of all, it doesn't make sense to box and put my face in harm's way in order to become a model or a TV star. So that just wasn't the case. But I used to always have this joke. I was like, I'm cute. My nose will be cute to the right or the left. If it gets broken, it's still going to be cute. Like, that was never a concern of mine. Looks, you cannot be concerned about looks as a man or a woman. You wouldn't want to get your face messed up. You're a handsome man. It doesn't matter. You're not a woman, but you don't want to get your face messed up. But if you're in the hurt business of boxing, you have to know that can happen. You can get a cut, you know, that's not going to necessarily all heal to the point where it's not there anymore and leave a scar. All kind of things can happen. So that cannot be a concern. But in terms of representing as a woman, that was never an issue to me. Like, that's part of my mindset. I don't approach things like, oh, I'm a woman, I have something to prove. I had so many damn things to prove. In terms of being Muhammad Ali's daughter, just that I could do it, that it wasn't a publicity stunt, that was more my focus opposed to that I'm a woman, because women have to work just as hard as men. We got to train just as hard as men. And for me, I only sparred men. So I'm in the gym because I'm a big girl. I'm 5'11", I'm 200 pounds right now. So I was fighting.
You got me beat.
Right. I'm bigger. But how much you weigh?
I'm 180.
See, I'm bigger than you. You know
I'm 5'11" too, so you got me.
I'm a big chick. Look at my hands. Like, people don't realize, like, I'm big.
You might got Curtis a little bit, huh?
No, Curtis is a little bigger.
Gained a little,
Yeah, no, he's about 215. But I'm close. Come on, 200.
Right.
I'm both up on. No, I'm just playing. But no, first of all, I'm not like that with my man at all. Like, you can't really be in a relationship with your man afraid of you. Like, I'm a totally different person. I'm
gonna ask him, but we're gonna touch on that.
He'll tell you. Like, that's a cool thing he gets to see. He gets to see that opposite balance, and nobody else gets to see. Sure. But what I would say is that the reason why I make sure I talk about being a woman and what women can do is to uplift other women. Being a woman has never been an issue for me. It's never been a mindset like, oh, why are things harder? But I speak on that publicly, you know, being a woman in a male-dominated sport, because women need to be uplifted in that way. Sure. I'm the type of person that's like, I'm going to do what I want to do regardless. I don't care what anybody thinks. So I shut all that out, and I don't think about all of the roadblocks in the way. I just put my head down and do my work the same way that you did. But we come from an athlete's mindset. Right. An athlete's point of view. So for me, I have to learn to compartmentalize anything that's going on and step in that ring. And when that bell rings, somebody's trying to take my head off. Nothing matters. No excuses. So it's not, in my mind, it ain't no you win some, you lose some. Not in my mind, because we're in two different types of sports. See, so yeah, in football, you can't say I'm going to win every single game. You're not. Right. But for me, I was like, none of these chicks have any business beating me. Period. Because not only do I work harder, train harder, faster, smarter, more confident, you know, just the DNA alone and the size and the power and all these things. So I felt like, no, I will not lose. I cannot lose. I don't apply that to everything I do in life because it's not realistic. But I own that ring. You know what I mean? And that comes from being an Ali. I can't, take credit for that.
Yeah, that's the characteristics
That's
you
my
got,
superpower.
man. You got to set the standards high, man. If you're not setting the standards high, what are you doing it for? What are you in it for? If you're not, every time you step on for me, the field, I feel like I can't beat the guy in front of me. Like, I don't care who you put in, Deion Sanders, and I tell him every time, I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna beat him every time. So as that competitor mentality, you gotta have that mentality. That's great, honestly, man. I really didn't know that about you, but I love the fire that you have in you. First of all, I want to just touch on it. I seen some articles where there's a few women that said you avoided them, but I don't believe that because I hear the energy, I feel the energy. But Anne Wolfe is one of them. I think it was like one or two more, female boxers that actually said they challenged you and it never went through. And, I kind of, did my history and, they was asking for some unrealistic monies as far as what I took out of it. But
Lord.
Yeah, what do you feel about people claiming that you turned down a fight or didn't want to fight them? Because from the way we talking, I could tell that ain't possible at all.
Well, I lost a lot of sleep over that, Anne Wolfe especially. And you would think I was a little obsessed with her because I literally, like I said, would just bring her up, talk about her. I
make her more important than she was.
Well, people will say that, like, why do you care? And I'm like, I care because people believe it, not just them saying it. A lot of people believe that. And I'm like, my history is going to be written. I don't want to be 75 and in a wheelchair or anything and somebody talking about, that I wouldn't fight this chick and now I can't go do it. So I was trying to, even after I had my kids, have a comeback. And I've been chasing after that woman for so long, but it made her...
Hold on. I'm still hearing the comeback is possible.
That ship has sailed. Her, she's too old now. She's older than me, and she's turned me down multiple times. You see how I got close.
Talk your shit there.
She turned me down multiple times. So that's not going to happen. Multiple. Okay, right. I'm talking about in private, multiple times, and has gotten famous off of being the woman I wouldn't fight. So why would you go now fight me when you're gonna get dusted off? Right. And all you can do is look at the opponents that we have in common. The one person that knocked her out, Valerie Mahfoud, I beat twice like she was my child. Like that's not a politically correct statement nowadays. I'm not beating children, but I'm saying I just did what I wanted to do with her is my point. It was easy. Definitely. It was easy. And this is the person that knocked her out. And then she had 2 rematches with. So that's all I can say since she's never had the nerve to face me, but people will believe because she's hardcore and looks a certain way, they don't realize that I'm bigger and stronger than she is, of course, I'm the one running. But I will say this, her and any other girls that have said I wouldn't fight them, right? The best should fight the best, right? Sure. So if I was the problem, the top of the food chain, me, if I was the problem, why haven't y'all chicks fought each other? Right. Why haven't they fought each other? No, because they all are scary Larrys, don't want any competition, and would not fight me. That's why. That's why they've had fought each other. You fight the next best. That's what you do. If you can't fight, but they haven't done that because they don't want that competition. Right. Yeah, shit. If I'm in that business, I want to get the best of the best. Whoever at the top of that chart, I'm coming for them. You feel me? And what you do is, I will say this, just so you know, and anybody watching, in boxing, there is a business order to things. I do believe in if I was managing a fighter that was very promising, I would put them in the right fights early so they can learn, so they can stay undefeated as long as possible, and then make the big money fight. Right. But what's the point if you're not ever gonna make the big money fight? You gotta talk your shit. Do your thing, but then at some point you have to face each other and there's nothing to lose. If I fought Anne Wolfe and got knocked out by her and she's knocking everybody out and she's so scary and all these things people believe in, then I would have to just say she was the better woman. Can I have a rematch? That's not something to be afraid of. You know what I mean? Like, that's the last thing I am is scared of anybody. You had never seen me get beat, almost get beat, get my ass beat, none of that like you've seen happen to her. So that's the last thing I'm gonna say about that. You see how passionate I get.
Nah, I love it, man. I promise. So when you was competing at a high level, obviously 24-0, 21 knockdowns, were you like a shit talker? Did you
Can't tell?
Yeah, I mean, I can, but I kind of want to relive it because I remember I saw some fights back, back in the early 2000s. When did you retire?
I retired in 2007, but I will say this. I say what's on my mind. I'm not the type that's like, let me talk shit to get exposure, because that's a nice tactic to have. But I mean everything that I'm saying, and I'm just telling you what I'm going to do if need be. And most of the time, these girls would talk about me. They would be very, very disrespectful towards me because there's a lot of animosity towards me because I was getting a lot of attention. So they think that I'm the celebrity. I'm not paying attention. But like I said, I get a little obsessed. I'm researching the articles. I'm going on your page and just checking you out, what you're saying about me. So then when the time comes, I get to face you. I get to remind you of all those things and to tell you why I'm going to take you into the deep rounds, whoop your ass, and knock you out in the final round, you know? That was just motivation for me. So yeah, I was a talker, but I do believe that you don't have to be a talker. That doesn't mean anything. You could be totally quiet, a quiet assassin, and then whoop somebody in the ring. So I wasn't that type that over talk, woof, woof, woof. But if I'm fighting you, I'm going to look you dead in your eye and have a conversation with you. Because we're going to face each other. You know what I'm saying? And if we don't like each other, that makes the fight all the more fun for me. If we like each other, and I know that, I mean, not like each other, but if we're cool and you don't say anything to start a fire, sometimes it takes me more to get revved up because I know it's going to be easy for me anyway. So when they say something to me and look me in my eye, I'd be like, oh, she really thinks she could win. That would just fire me up to a whole nother level. So
yeah, no, that's dope. So I got one more sports question, and I kind of want to transition off to your television and kind of just some community work. But how was it for you? Because I saw that you fought Joe Frazier's daughter. Obviously, Joe Frazier, Muhammed Ali, two icons, two greats all time. And it got pumped up to, them trying to find somebody to fight you, Joe Frazier. And first pay-per-view fight by two women held. That's a record. So we want to, applaud you a little bit for that one too. But how was that moment as far as, Joe Frazier and, the battles that we saw your dad go down with that? How was that for you and his daughter? And, can you speak on that a little bit? How was that passionate for you?
Yeah, well, in hindsight now that it was a past, I can look at it differently. But when I was in it, I was really irritated with her because I was like, here I am trying to be serious about my boxing career. And then she kind of got the idea like to follow in too. I didn't take her seriously. Right. But we had to fight because obviously it made sense to do, right? And Jackie was tough. I got in that ring and there's a lot of family animosity there. I was real cocky with her, because it was like that whole family history, My dad used to call her dad ugly. He looks like a gorilla. All these things he would say. He's an Uncle Tom because my dad had been stripped of his titles, when he got stripped of everything. And Joe Frazier was the champ. He's like, you're not the real champ. You didn't beat me. So that got under his chest. Like, here he comes saying all these things. His kids are hearing this. One of the most beautiful, famous, respected, loved men in the world calling your dad ugly publicly, calling him ignorant, calling him Uncle Tom. They had to go to school and hear that. So I'm sure there was a lot of emotion there. I had my own emotion. So it was a battle. And then I got the flu before the fight, which nobody knew. So I'm fighting like with no energy. Third round, I was done. But I was like, I cannot let her win. It was like, so I was just like, I didn't even sit in my, like in between rounds, I wouldn't sit down because I was like, if I sit down, I can't get back up. My legs felt so weak. So yeah, but it was a battle, it went the distance. And my regret is that we didn't have a rematch. And the reason we didn't was because of me. I wouldn't give her a rematch because I was like,
for what?
I felt like at the time, that's when I was proving my seriousness. I didn't take her seriously. And I was like, I want to fight girls with titles. I want to get some belts. But in hindsight, I would have fought her. That wasn't a smart move because it would have, business-wise, we should have fought again. We would have made a lot of money. It would have brought a lot of exposure to the sport. But my ignorance, being young and just having something to prove, it was me that stood in the way. And I wish I didn't do that. So. And I could have got the knockout. I could have fought her healthy and got the knockout.
That's interesting. I know. So I'm sure that was like the flu game. You know how Michael Jordan played in that game when I think he had like 45 points. So that was your flu game. That was your flu match where you still in there dodging and weaving and ducking.
We were scrapping. That was so early in my career where my skill level wasn't even to where it had become, but we were scrapping like it was a full. And then she was tougher than I thought she'd be. Like she was tougher. And then my power wasn't there. So the balance of it. But it ended up being a good fight because of that.
Right. So we let me get to a few endorsements. 1 second, please, while we hit the endorsements. So endorsed and sponsored by DeSean Jackson Foundation. Everybody go check out DeSeanJackson.com. Pancreatic Cancer Month. 1x1 clothing. Everybody go out, shop 1x1 clothing. Define yourself. You're a rare person. No one's like you. So keep being great. And Against All Odds, out right now, streaming on all major platforms. And Sports Rhythms and Plays for Life. So let me see. We got a few more, and then we're gonna get about here. I know 6 minutes. We're gonna get out you here fast though. All right, so
I'm so long-winded on my answers for you.
Nah, I love them. Shit, I love that the fluke thing too. Especially, I ain't know that. So shit, maybe we get some sound bites of people that ain't know about you. You know,
right?
So I want to speak on, your dad basically being an activist and, speaking on the Black Lives Matter movement. You have LeBron James and, you have a lot of police brutality going on and, in our society right now. But, your dad was an activist, man. I could just remember, back in time, just, his speeches and, what he meant to the community. And, do you feel like he was one of the few athletes to really transition over, as far as, being for the people and basically being that voice? Because, you have a lot of these, athletes now, and myself included, we're on such big of a platform, and, us being silenced and, not really speaking for our people can, definitely do numbers. So, for you, like, was your dad a big influence? And I know as far as boxing and just him being an icon, a model, but as far as like with the community work, how was he to you? And did he, kind of transition over from, being a boxer to, the everyday life?
So my dad wore so many hats, in terms of being a father, being an activist, just who he was. He had ended his boxing career by the time I got old enough to really understand what was going on. But the most important thing to him was his humanitarianism work that he did all around the world, not just for Black people, but for all people. My dad has freed hostages from Saddam Hussein. I went out there and actually brought him back, which was really dangerous to do. I think what differentiates my dad from a lot of the athletes now, first of all, I can't ever think of anyone on his level in terms of what he was willing to sacrifice. Okay.
Sure.
But that's okay. Everybody has their part. Everybody can do something, and there's levels to it. Because once you take a stand, once you put it out there, you gotta maintain that, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure you're doing what's really in your heart to do, not feel pressured to do certain things. But I've always believed that anytime you're a public person, I don't care if you're athlete, singer, actor, whatever you are, people are looking up to you. What we say matters. So however you can use your platform is amazing. Now, my father wasn't any hashtag, it wasn't any cause that he got involved in. He was just doing what he felt was right. He was standing up for himself, standing up for Black people, and he inspired a lot of people to see themselves differently. Like, I'm the greatest, I'm beautiful. Just that alone, people are like, huh, what? You know what I mean? And then for him to be willing to put everything on the line, his career on the line. And this is not with an entourage or a sports agency or anybody, social media creating anything for him. This is just something he did on his own, and it played out in his real life. So yeah, he definitely has been an inspiration for me. My thing is, I also don't feel burdened to be like my father. I don't think I could ever be like my father. Number one, he's a man. Number two, he lived in a different time and era and had a different set of circumstances. I'm the mom. I have children. I'm very careful about, what I say, what I do, how I use my platform, but while being true to myself and my passions. So Laila Ali Lifestyle, which is my brand, I have a website, was all about encouraging people to be the best version of themselves through their health, their wellness, their health, their mindset, and their purpose in life. And what I've decided to tackle for my activism and my advocacy work is just helping people in their health. Because when you talk about Black people, we're dying at the highest rates from heart disease, from lifestyle choices. This is not from the police killing us. It's not from us killing each other. This is not from all the systems that have been put in place against us. But the system, one of the systems is in the food, right? With the GMOs and the chemicals and the fast food. All this stuff is meant to make you sick. It's meant to keep those healthcare bills going. It's meant to keep you not thinking right. So I'm trying to encourage people to understand that by eating whole foods, by living a healthy lifestyle, that we're already being ahead of the game, because that's what's killing us. And it's something that we can change. So that is really what my focus is. Anytime things come up, like what's recently been happening in our community with the police killings and all that, of course I want to say something. I'm not somebody who necessarily jumps on bandwagons in terms of organized groups, because you really got to know who's behind them and what their real motive is and what their real intention is. So I always do my research before I go jump on any bandwagon.
Right.
But because the message is very clear, all people matter, right? People hate to say that, but when someone's shooting a black man, nobody wants to hear all lives matter, right? That's why they were saying, oh, Black lives matter. But in reality, all of our lives do matter. And that includes Black people. Right. See what I'm saying? But depending on what context we put that in, you do need to say, when everyone's saying, Black lives matter, because that was the focus. We're the ones being killed all the time. Right. You see what I'm saying? Definitely. But my father was someone who was inclusive of all people. He traveled the world globally and loved all people, all colors, all races. But you got to love yourself first. You got to take care of your family first. You got to take care of your community. Every other race does it. But when we do it, sometimes when we do it, it tends to be a problem sometimes. So I'm aware of all of this, but at the same time, to answer your question, my father has been a tremendous role model.
So now that actually leads me into, a segment of my show where I call it Billionaire Talk. And you basically just hit it you nailed it like right on the head. And it's like, I still have to ask you because the segment of my show, Billionaire Talk, is basically inspiring the youth and, kind of giving some motivation and some encouragement to, someone that the next Laila Ali or, the next DeSean Jackson. Can you give me some insight on, well, I ain't even gonna ask on your mindset because you done been, giving us game the whole time we've been on this call. But what is something like you inspire the youth? Like what is something you could give where someone back home right now can really take and say, dang, this is Laila mentality. And if I follow this mentality, I can make it and I can get to where I need to get to.
I would say that, we as athletes that have accomplished a lot can sound confident, and talk about how we want what we want, we go after, we're going to come out on top no matter who we're against. But just know that that's not just talk. Confidence comes from preparation. So for me, again, confidence comes from preparation. I have prepared myself. I have done the work that it takes. I've done the studying, if it's any tapes. I've put in the work in the gym. I've made sure that I got my rest. I made sure that I surrounded myself with people who are going to be positive, who aren't going to suck energy from me, who are going to feed me, with positive energy. I've done all of that. I've set myself up for success. I'm not just saying, oh, I know I can do it just because, and you go out there and get surprised. Guess what? There's thousands of other people who feel that same way. What you going to do? Mm-hmm. So again, preparing yourself, right? In every way that you can, mentally, physically, spiritually. And when you go under all those pillars saying, what resources do I have? Is it a self-help book? Is it a video? Is it a mentor? What is it? What can I do? That's where your confidence comes from. And that's what you need to have. Don't just be talking. Don't just be feeling like something's supposed to be handed to you, like it's going to be easy, like you don't want to do the work. You don't see the work that goes on behind the scenes. They don't see all the years all the sacrifices that you made. You see what I'm saying? So understand confidence comes from preparation and prepare yourself for success.
Man, you're a big inspiration for a lot of young ladies out there, man. If I have a daughter one day, hopefully I do, because I got 3 boys. Can't seem to get the draw a look for a female, but it's coming. Hopefully it's coming, but you're definitely an inspiration. You're the model, and I appreciate you, everything you've done, everything you're continuously doing. Is there anything else you want to promote or basically, put out there that you're doing? Anything that, people need to stay tuned? I want to give you the moment you came on and blessed my show, so I definitely want to return the favor.
Well, I want to invite anyone who wants to visit my website, Laila Ali Lifestyle. I took a lot of time in creating a Replenish You series. It's a free email series you can sign up for that helps you get started and being the best version of you through your health, your mindset, and your purpose. That would be a good start. I also have nutrition products and skincare products and my spice blends, that I did off of my cookbook. So I invite them to come check that out. And just like you have a foundation, I don't have a foundation, but I give back through my fan page. I have a fan page on my site where I have autographed boxing gloves and pictures and t-shirts, and all the proceeds from that goes to different charities, and you can go see the charities, you can see the donations that I've made. So, I think that as long as we keep using our platform to uplift those coming behind us, we're doing the right thing, DeSean.
Well, no, I definitely appreciate it. I'm gonna have to jump out there and tell you, I'm gonna need some of them boxing gloves. I need it in my memorabilia. I need to put it up on the wall in a box somewhere. I need to get that. And I'll return a favor. I'll give you a jersey. I don't know if you want it. Your husband probably might want it. I got him. No, that's big, bro. I can't let you out the horn without asking, though. So if it was a heat of the moment, argument, anything, and Big Curtis, that's like big bro to me. And it was going down. I know he kind of scared you. I know you done had to probably tip him up a few times. Have you ever messed around a little bit?
No, I think one time we wrestled and he got me like that, you know. Curtis is so much stronger than me physically that I would not be able to hurt him unless I got the shot in first, you know what I'm saying? But I would never, ever do that. Like I am so... You know, I cook dinner. I make him his plate.
Such a lady, huh? This don't sound like the boxer.
No. I'm 100% woman. Like, you know, I'm a homemaker. I'm a mom. I'm a fighter. Women have been warriors since the beginning of time. People don't realize that, but you got to have that balance and that femininity. So I don't have no problem. I never had a problem keeping a man. I'll just put it like that because I have the other side now too.
You got the mental, you got the looks, you got everything going for you. I appreciate your time, Laila Ali, man. It was a pleasure spending time with you today.
Thanks for having me on.
I got the money, but my pride keep me in the streets. I got the hustle, but we guarantee we gon' eat. I got a few plays, I'm quarterback, I'm Tom Brady, 12 in the pack, and I'ma throw it, get my arm crazy.